Hello, third grade. Today I'm going to introduce a project for you by telling you about one of my very favorite artists. Oh, I love him. His name is Vincent Van Gogh, and he was alive from March 30th, 1853 until July 29th, 1890. So he lived almost 200 years ago, about 150 years ago. He was alive and making really beautiful art. In fact, even if you haven't heard that name before, I know you've seen his art. Have you seen this one? This is called Starry, Starry Night. Now, this is one of the most famous art pieces in the entire world. The entire world. I've had the chance to see it in person twice, and I love it so much. Vincent Van Gogh made this when he was actually in a hospital recovering from some sickness he had in his brain. So, this piece is so famous, but what's really cool about it and interesting is that even though we look at it now and see how beautiful it is with the swirls in the sky and the bright, vibrant colors, when Vincent Van Gogh painted it, this is our friend Vincent Van Gogh, when he painted it, nobody liked it. It wasn't popular at all. In fact, Vincent Van Gogh, even though he's making beautiful paintings for his whole life, wasn't very successful. He had some friends, he had a couple of fans, but he didn't make any money off of his art. He was really struggling. And sometimes that hurt his heart, and sometimes that hurt his mind as well. I wonder if you've ever felt like nobody believed in you, and if that made you feel upset. Well, Vincent had to deal with that a lot. So one of the times he had to deal with that, it's a lesson for us in kindness, service, and friendship. So I'm going to tell you that story. And it is a story about this painting specifically. Sunflowers. So here is Vincent Van Gogh again, and he lived in a country called France. This is the United States. This is where we live, specifically way over here in Utah, and France is a country in Europe right here. I actually lived there too. I lived there, 10 years ago. Wow, I didn't realize it's been so long. I lived in France 10 years ago, and I lived up in the corner. I'll show you a little bit more soon. So, Vincent Van Gogh, like I said, didn't have too many friends, but he did have one best friend. If you have a best friend, I want you to think about them in your mind right now. Think about your best friend, maybe that you have now or that you used to have in the past. This is Vincent Van Gogh's best friend. His name is Paul Gaugin, and Paul and Vincent lived together in Paris. Now, when Vincent lived in Paris, he made some paintings. This is one of them. This was the first time he painted sunflowers, and Paul really thought they were nice. He liked them a lot, and he complimented Vincent and told them that they were great. So Vincent made some more. You can see down here he's got his name signed on it. Oh, hopefully that's not too covered up. He's got his name signed on the painting. Now here is Paris, or France, excuse me. Paris, right here, is the capital of France. Maybe you've heard of Paris because it has the Eiffel Tower. I think I might even... Aha! Here's a statue of the Eiffel Tower. Have you seen this before? This is the famous building in Paris. So, by the way, I lived over here in a part of France called Brittany, right here in a teeny tiny town called Elvan. Elvan is so small and so tiny it would probably all fit inside Magna Main Street. But anyway, Vincent and Gaugin and Paul lived in Paris together, and they had a great time. They were great friends. But Vincent wanted to move out of the big city and live in a place where he could do art out in nature. So Vincent got on a carriage and moved all the way down, 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 where it was warmer, down, 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 all the way here in the city called Arles. Now, Arles is so small that it doesn't show up on a lot of maps, but he liked it a lot. Now, here's the thing. Vincent and Gaugin had lived in Paris together, and Vincent had to move. I want you to think if you've ever had a time when you moved, or maybe your friend, your best friend moved. Think about what it's like to move away from your friend. And we're not talking about moving across the street, although that can be hard, or even moving schools if one of your friend stops going to Entheos and starts going to a school across town. That's sad and that's hard, isn't it? But imagine moving days away. When I grew up, I lived in Illinois, and I moved all the way to Utah, across the country. That's what Vincent and Paul did. Think about how much that hurts and how hard that is, and how excited you would be if you had that best friend who moved far away to come visit you. Well, that happened. Vincent wrote letters to Paul. He wrote him lots of letters and said, please, please come live with me. Please come visit me. Please come spend some time with me. I have a beautiful yellow house, and I would love if you could stay with me. And one day, after asking and asking and asking, Paul finally said, yes, I would love to come stay with you. I'll make it work. I will leave in a couple of months. So Vincent got really excited. And he wanted to make his bedroom, his guest bedroom, where Paul was going to stay, look beautiful. So remember how Paul really liked these flowers? Well, Vincent decided to paint more of them. He painted these beautiful vases of sunflowers, that yellow one I've got right here. And he painted many, many, many vases, not just one flower, not just one vase, but dozens of canvases of flowers all over the room. Oh, they're beautiful, aren't they? I'm going to switch my camera for a bit. So he painted these beautiful flowers that he was so proud of. And so then Paul came to visit. What do you think Paul thought about having a bedroom that was covered in flowers? Well, he didn't like it. He didn't like it at all. He told Vincent that he thought it was weird and kind of ugly. He didn't like all these flowers that Vincent painted for him. Now, how would that make you feel? It made Vincent feel very sad. Vincent felt very upset because he had been working so hard to make this room look so nice for his friend Paul. And then Paul didn't like it at all. It hurt his feelings. So I want you to think for a moment what you would do if your friend hurt your feelings. Hopefully you would talk to them about it. You would let them know, hey, I don't think you meant to, but you hurt me. And let's talk about this. So eventually, Paul and Vincent did talk about it, and they started to recover their friendship. And in fact, we have this lovely painting here, that Paul Gaugin made of Vincent painting some sunflowers. So they made up. Their friendship got better. And that's what we want to have happen. If you're ever in a situation where you have your friends that you're excited to see, and your friend hurts your feelings, or maybe you accidentally hurt theirs, remember, first of all, how important your friend is to you. And then talk about it. Let them know that your feelings were hurt. Don't just be sad and upset, because guess what? This is a really cool secret of friendship. Normally, your friend isn't trying to hurt your feelings. They didn't mean to. They're probably going to be just as upset that they hurt your feelings as you are that your feelings got hurt. So talk to them. Let them know. So now that our story is done, I'm going to show you how we're going to draw some of these flowers. You will hopefully be getting a picture of one of the many types of sunflowers that Vincent Van Gogh painted for his friend Paul Gauguin and for all of us to enjoy. And then you're going to recreate it. This is mine that I made, and I used something called oil pastel. You might be using crayon instead. Oil pastel and crayon will work just as well together. Today, I'm just going to focus on how to draw some of these great flowers. You can work on coloring later on, next week or the week after. So, here's my picture. I'm going to put it up on the board next to me. Okay, so to draw these flowers, a really good tip is to draw a circle around the flower so that you know where you want the edge to be. See that big flower? I want to, I'll make it darker for you to see. There. This is going to be as big as my flower gets. This is where all the petals are going to go, because a flower's petals are all usually about the same size. So I'm going to put the head of the sunflower as a big circle in the middle, and then to make the petals themselves, I'm going to follow two curving lines coming out towards the edge. I'm going to make one curving line out towards the edge. Going to scooch about a finger away, do another curving line out towards the edge. And then I'm going to do that all the way around. And you can follow along if you want. I'm going to pause right here because there's something I want you to notice about Vincent's sunflowers. Are his petals all perfect? I mean, this one's pretty perfect. But take a look at this one over here. Ooh. See how it has some petals that are bent and some petals that are longer than others? We're going to try and do that on ours too. Some of these petals are really long and wibbly. And some of them are really small and bent. So that makes my sunflower look a little more real. Also, some petals grow behind other petals. Like that. Now my sunflower is starting to look more like Van Gogh's. Also, let's talk about the stems. Sunflowers have very big stems, which means they need very big heads, which means they need strong stems to hold it up. We can see those strong stems. So on mine, I'm going to make a wobbly, strong stem. We don't just want one thin little line, whoop, or the sunflower would crack and die. Now, some of our flowers look different than that. That technique I just showed you is a really great way to draw these type, but I want to show you some of the ones that are turned to the side and some of the other ones that look a little different. One last thing, when you color on the inside, if you really want your painting to look like Van Gogh, you can do some swirls to make it look really cool. So, some of those flowers that are turned to face away, we're going to start with that same idea of making a big oval to show us how big we want the flower. And then we're going to put our oval for the middle of the head, but instead of having it in the middle of the oval, we're going to push it more to the side. See that? Right now it kind of looks like an egg. And then we're going to have our petals. Some of them are going to stop at the edge. some of them are going to be long.